What is going on, everybody? It is David Palmer, Leo King, and this is my show, Uncut Astrology, where I take off the mask and go deep behind the veil and give you this week's astrological forecast for the week of November the 16th through the 21st of 2016. Thank you so much for watching this video, sharing this video, and of course, if you share this video through my Facebook, I pick one winner a week where I do a free reading where I send snail mail, I write on the back, and I send you an astrological reading. I pick one winner a week. And also, thank you for being on the Leo King app. Honestly, we've got awesome new tests coming out in the new app. If you haven't checked it out, theleokingapp.com for your computer, iPhone, or Android device. It is so awesome to get my daily videos, my awesome sun sign horoscope videos, and of course the daily text notifications that go straight to your phone. And we have all these new features coming on the app in the next couple weeks. It is so awesome. Don't miss it. Check it out, theleokingapp.com. And of course my movie, ageofdeceptionmovie.com. I'm doing a sale on the movie, which is a 4-hour movie going into the whole entire age of deception, which is the last couple thousand years, and even goes a little bit farther than that. So check that out at ageofdeceptionmovie.com. Well, here we are this week, and there's a lot to talk about in the astrology, but I want to start off with, this is the last week of Scorpio. And you have to remember that the last degrees of Scorpio are the darkest, the most intense, but also the most transformational. So we are heading into the deepest part of the underworld. We are heading into the deepest part of our own transformation in ourselves. And there is a haunting taking place. These last degrees of Scorpio always kind of bring out to haunting. And it's interesting that there are some transits that are happening this week that are going to cover some really interesting positions that happened in 2015, but with different planets. And so this is almost like the past of 2015 coming to haunt you, May and June of 2015 to be specific, and July and August of 2015 to be specific. The reason why, in May and June of 2015, we had Mercury go retrograde in Gemini, and it squared Neptune as this was a very difficult position. Now, what's interesting this week is Mercury is in the opposite sign of Sagittarius, and it is going to square Neptune, which is going stationary direct this week. Now, it's in different signs, but there is this mental, unclear, really foggy, and to be very honest, because the fact that Neptune is stopped, and in last year's energy, Mercury was stationary and stopped, and also Neptune was kind of in a weird spot too. This is going to replay the weird unsureties, sensitivities to your mind, your confusion, your thoughts of that time period. And the sensitivity was very heightened. And this week, as we are going through this weird transformational haunting process, we are transforming ourselves to rise above through the last fears of 2015. This is also, you got to remember that Saturn was in Scorpio and finished in 2015, and that happened right after that May, June, Saturn went back into Scorpio, and then in July, August, right there, it finished in Scorpio. And how ironic that when it finished, it squared Jupiter at 28 degrees of Leo, and here is the sun and the moon this week squaring at 28, 29 degrees of Scorpio Leo, the very edgy ends and the cusps of the most powerful, strongest fixed sign, Sun, Pluto, Mars aspects. Very intense. You know, our fired up positions, our fears, our intensities, our desires, our wants. So to transcend right now with a Neptune station this week, which remember, Neptune is stopping this week. It's not moving. You can barely see it move. It is a faraway planet. It takes 160 years to come around the sun, and it is stopped. And it's going to go stationary direct by the end of this weekend. So there's an eeriness already. There's a sensitivity already, and you're dealing with Mercury squaring it, which means there's going to be a lot of unsurety this week of where's things going? Did I make right decisions in my life? And this is where we need to have sane people around. Venus in Capricorn is sextiling Neptune as it stopped this week. And so even though Mercury in our mind might be really confused, as Mercury's about to come into some really weird territory, the mutable cross energy that we had this year, the mutable T-square energy that we've had this year, and all the mutable energy area, the middle of the mutable signs. And so having a project, having work, having sane people, having sane projects that keep you out of losing your mind are going to be important this week. And to have people that are sane. I put up a picture up on my Facebook the other day saying, you know, I brought up one of my old favorite movies, The Haunting. And the original movie, The Haunting, is a woman who literally gets freaked out and the house literally haunts her. And all the sane people around try to keep her together, but she ends up losing it and ends up losing it in the house and ends up dying and the house kind of takes her. This week, it's not going to be that kind of an ending. This week, I think, ends with quite a more positive aspect as we are going to clear the fears and transform. And we are going to, in insane moments or weird moments, really wake up. You got to remember that the South Node is dead conjunct this Neptune energy as it's going stationary direct. So this week is going to bring about a very weird energy. Now with Mercury Mercury squaring this could be a really weird story that's going to affect the press and the media, that's going to push some sort of belief process. This could be something that's going to feel really weird and off, 18th through the 20th. So be wary of that, and in your own life, be wary that if things aren't making sense, you don't need to make crucial decisions at this time. This is a week where there's going to be a lot of process, a lot of sensitivity, and this is you going through your transformational process this week. This is the edge of Scorpio. This is a time to really just let these things happen, let this change happen, let these fears come up from last year and erase them. And sometimes they have to come up, sometimes they might be replayed in weird ways for you to overcome them, and that's what this week is all about as well. So don't be fearful this week, but at the same time, don't be overly, I think, too decisive in where things are in your life. Because this is a week where we still got to finish the change. It's almost like the butterfly already making plans of where it's going to go hang out, where it's going to go eat dinner, where it's going to go do when it's still in the cocoon. There's kind of this cocoon feeling that we're still in. And so there's this unsurety, but our head's popping out and we're starting to see the world, but we're unsure of what it really is going to be like to fly. And after being a caterpillar on the ground, like you got to have that's where we're at this week, and sanity and realizing, knowing where you're at in the process and knowing that there's still a lot to process and knowing that there's a lot still to understand without all the facts there is going to be crucial. The other major thing this week is Saturn. Saturn right away on the 18th comes out of its shadow period. What this means is Saturn went retrograde in March of 2016. And what it did is it went retrograde at 16 degrees of Sagittarius in 23 minutes. Well, right on the 18th, Saturn comes to 1623 and comes forward, and we are moving into new territory now. So it's kind of ironic because the last time Saturn was even in this space was in the mid to late 80s, especially around, I think it's like 1987. So you got to realize that we haven't been with Saturn in this space since then. And so now that Saturn's moving forward and now that Saturn's out of shadow, this is going to be a time where we want to make huge decisions. We might even second guess ourselves with this Mercury square Neptune and Mercury starting to come across Saturn, like this importance to, did I make right decisions in my life? Am I on the right path? Am I waking up to something? There's Neptune on the South Node. This is you also. Are you going to just go and do the unconscious or the old pattern that you've always done? Or are you going to overcome that this week? We talked a little bit about that last week, but this really is it now, especially this weekend, and to not just jump the gun per se. Mars is in Aquarius, ready to just kind of at any moment make itself free, go in any direction. And I think this week there's a caution to make sure that we really use our defining identity and our defining moments of this world that we're in and that we're experiencing, to not make them so concrete, but to keep our sanity concrete, but to realize that there's still a lot of change happening. Because by the end of this week, the sun is going to exit Scorpio on the 21st and enter into Sagittarius, where it will finally come into a positive fire sign, and it will come out of the transformational process and really start the reviewing process of really where to go. And I think that, even though Scorpio brings where we draw boundaries in our life, and there's going to be some intense boundaries drawn with a big square to the moon this weekend and covering the June-August of 2015 and the major shift of that chapter in your life that changed, it's almost like you're going to realize there's that kind of effect this week, like the chapter has changed. Don't try and just like run back to an old chapter or run back to the past, South Node, Neptune, run back to drugs, run back to some alcohol, run back to avoiding the truth. Like there's this where you got to face it head on. You got to really notice that this is a new chapter and you got to go with it. And there's kind of a commitment aspect to going to this and a transformational prospect to rise us to the phoenix, to this new space. The last thing, geez, there's so much here, but the last thing is that Jupiter and Pluto this week are exactly 15 degrees squaring each other. But it doesn't officially hit till next week at the exact degree and minute, which tells me that this week isn't the big boom week to make radical change. We need Mercury to come off Neptune. We need Neptune to come direct and get a little bit of flexibility on this South Node and see what the hell's going on and see through the prism and see through the fog and see through what we're transforming towards to finally kind of understand where we're going. So realize that you're at a place where you're at a new chapter in your life, you're at a new position in your life, but there is this weird karmic ending cycle of your own psyche, your own subconscious, unconscious workings that are needing to be cleared. There is clearing from the 2012 to 2015 Saturn in Scorpio happening this week, as this being the last week of the Sun in Scorpio, and that this is a heightened one because of the big 3/4 square of the moon in Leo at a degree and at a placement that was where the Jupiter-Saturn square happened in July and August of 2015. Mercury square Neptune, exactly where it happened in the degrees, but in a different sign of Mercury, but still a weird aspect happening in that 9-degree spot. And where the South Node is involved and at the stationary position, we need to be very careful this week of making an unconscious, radical decision that doesn't have sanity, the long-term thought through, and focusing on our better sane relationships, focusing on, more importantly, projects and things that keep us in our reality so we don't lose ourselves. That's going to be our anchor this week. That's going to be what keeps us sane through it all, because I predict this week something is going to come up in all of our worlds, the world at large, the collective and individually, that is going to shock us this weekend. A revolution, a wake up, a what the hell, a wow, this is really how I feel, this is really what's going on, or it's just a hyper awareness spiritually of where you're at and the chapter has finally changed, because we are going through that chapter changing process of the last year of Saturn, of the 2 stories I talked about, and it's all coming with Saturn now and it's out of its shadow and leading towards next week when the Sun comes into Sagittarius on the end of the 21st and into that 22nd, where things are going to be full blast, full bore, go time, and into the chapters of life. So realize that, but don't try and get there without going through your metamorphosis of this transformation this week. And this could be so powerful for you to let go of the energies that have been holding you down and that have been scaring you for so long. You can really overcome this week. And so to me, this is a very powerful and exciting week with some shocks. But don't react to the shocks. Don't react to the past ways that you've lived your life. Don't react to the haunting. Rely on people to be your support and to stay grounded, and also be flexible with people this week, as they're all going to be a little bit crazy, especially in their own thoughts, belief structures, and more importantly, subconscious patterns throwing themselves up all over you. Thanks so much for all your support. I truly appreciate it. Hope that you check out the Leo King app so you can watch me every day and get my daily videos every day. And of course, when the new app comes out, I will be taking the Uncut straight to the app only. So I will be putting, of course, great content on YouTube, but this show I've been doing for 2 years now is moving straight directly for the app exclusive only. And that's because I'm moving all of my horoscope platforms onto my app. Thanks so much for all your support. I truly appreciate it, and I will see you next week.